Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. This episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by Optimus Prime Beef. These delicious steaks are cut from robotically enhanced cows and aged to perfection. Optimus Prime Beef is a great source of protein, iron, and essential oils. Transform your dinner tonight with Optimus Prime Beef. Alan, you can relate to these cows before they.
I honestly think we need to get someone who actually knows the material to research. Our sponsors from now on.
That would not do, Brandon. No.
Well, it's like get a little iron in your diet.
Yeah, iron. Like we say, the essential oils, which I don't want to think about too hard.
Yeah, I'm thinking transmission fluid on that one.
Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass producing everything.
There's no glass today.
We can actually throw stuff at him today.
Hey, guys, real quick, this is a public service announcement / apology. I have to apologize. Okay, last week was one of those rare occasions when Geek Tank Radio fell on Harry Potter's birthday. I was so distraught about all of the things going on with the Chicago Cubs, I completely forgot to acknowledge that. We were actually going to do a whole segment on that. Instead, I whined about the Cubs all week.
Instead, we had a good show.
So at least I want to acknowledge, maybe next year, Harry. Sorry, the Cubs took
that
precedent.
happens a lot when you're a middle-aged dad.
Yeah. People forget your birthday all the time. You should know that.
Yeah, and I'm done talking about the Cubs. However, folks, I will tell you.
No, he's not.
Because you guys, we talked about this a lot in our chat. I did do a little bonus feature, Alan. I hope you'll post this. I did a radio interview with my buddy Crawley, who is a big Cubs guy. He's in Chicago. He's in the belly of the beast. So if you're interested in listening to two middle-aged guys whine about a bunch of millionaires that are like not on the team anymore.
You just described 98% of the podcasts out there on Spotify.
Yeah, tune in later to our podcast. So that like I said, that's just a But Brandon, there's updates. There's a lot going on.
There's a
lot
going on, man. This country's falling apart.
Well, and then later you're gonna do. I didn't watch Suicide Squad. I'll probably watch it tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
But we don't mind spoilers. That's fine.
It's true, but I'm gonna give you a week so that we can have a really good in-depth conversation about it.
So spoiler light.
So I'm gonna be spoiler light, like I did with Black Widow.
Okay. And we do have a lot of updates, and we also want to remind everybody, too, next week we hope you're going to join us at Covington Con. It's going to be August 14th, and it's an all-day thing run by our buddy Josh Lincoln, and we're going to be there. Fair warning.
Run by our friend Josh Mason.
What did I say?
You said Josh Lincoln.
Edit that out, Maximilian. But anyway, Josh Lincoln doesn't mind getting a shout-out. So,
it's like...
We'll be there,
It's like, not to be confused with our good buddy who used to run the BronyCon.
Yeah.
What was it? I can't remember the name of it. It was an awesome name, though.
We'll have the Wheel of Fate there, right?
Yes, the Wheel of Fate will be there to see if you, too, can win a free 3-day pass to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention this November 12th through 14th at the Memphis Marriott East.
Okay. And so, Brandon, what are some... we've got updates about that, so I feel like maybe this is the time to give a few of those.
So, guys, if we were holding the convention next weekend, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you would be required to wear a mask. The Delta variant is running rampant right now. We're hoping people will get their vaccines. We're hoping we can get numbers quashed. But right now, we're keeping an eye on what Shelby County's going through. We're keeping an ear out with the healthcare professionals we know personally, as well as those who are in the COVID relief team. And we're going to be keeping in contact with the Marriott to see what their policies are going to be. It's a fluid situation, guys. We want to have the con. We will do everything in our power to have the con, but we want to make sure you guys are safe and we're safe so that we can continue to do the con for you. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation, and we will adjust accordingly. We've been in contact with our guests. They are just as concerned about making sure that we can have the safest and best experience we can have. Joel has been amazing with doing all this stuff.
Joel Hodgson, from the creator of Mystery Science Theater. We could not have had a better guest. He is like rolling with whatever happens.
He has just been amazing when it comes to we might have to do this, and he's like, man, whatever you guys need. He's been extremely flexible. I am so excited to have him here. But that being said, going forward right now, everything is all the plans are on the book. We're rolling with it. And Joe, you have a update about Geek 101.
Yeah, well,
well.
I'm gonna do that after the break, Brandon, because Geek 101 is it's sort of a central feature of the convention, and it's gonna look different this year, but it's still exciting. And actually, I have something exciting to announce too after the break involving
none of the rest of us know this.
Well, involving a giveaway. Actually, I guess. Well, I can just say it. It's quick. Our buddy Stephen Leonard, who is actually the one bringing us Thunder Rosa. We're going to be talking to Thunder Rosa down the road, Brandon, too. I'm hoping you'll do an interview.
Oh, absolutely.
This is hitting both of his nerves. He's a huge wrestling fan, and he's a huge MST3K fan, and he is donating to the one lucky winner is going to win a replica Tom Servo. So basically, the robot and everything.
Yeah.
And it's
for those of you who don't know which one he is, he's the one who looks like a candy machine.
He's the funny one. Yeah. Well, they're all funny, but he's my favorite. But anyway, if you purchase a ticket for the private party that's going to be on Friday night, November 12th, you are automatically registered to win. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's a lot of cool updates along with cautiously watching the news. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass. If you're just tuning in, we've been updating you. We are going to keep our finger to the pulse of the latest news and how it affects the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. And it's not just all doom and gloom. Look, we've learned to adapt to these new realities, and we're plowing forward, and we're going to party together if it kills us. Well, maybe that's the wrong choice. That's the wrong choice of words.
Let's rephrase that.
We're gonna we're gonna be as safe as possible, and but we've got the ideal guests: Joel Hodgson and Thunder Rosa and Wayne White.
Wayne White.
All of them are being super accommodating, and that alone is a big weight off our shoulders.
And that's not even to talk about the best guest that's going to be there, and that's Alan Gilbreth, who I'm going to make do cooking demos in the workshop room.
Which
means there'll be food samples.
And the bonus celebrities, because we have the host from Geeky Side TV.
Oh, God. All the Geeky Side people are going to be there, aren't they?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
We haven't even... You get a whole bus.
We haven't even pushed that, Alan. We've mentioned it here and there that,
internationally distributed, worldwide famous host from Geeky Side. Yes, those people.
Well, the cameras will be there. Alan's going to have his gang. And you may... So if you go to a panel, there may be a particular panel or workshop where you have to say, yes, I agree to be on television if which is cool,
right,
as long as you're prepared. So, but and then I also mentioned before the break that our buddy Stephen Leonard is giving one lucky winner a replica Tom Servo, and I got news for you folks. Okay, this private party with Joel Hodgson, here's the math on this one, you guys. So basically, there's 120 seats.
Right.
Well. And by the way, if you want to purchase one, you better act quicker because it's $80. You get a 3-day pass to the convention, an autograph, and a photo op with Wayne and Joel. And how much better of a deal do you want? And access to this private party. And
now the chance to win Tom Servo.
Well, here's the thing. So
this ain't a cheap replica.
Well, the thing is, Brandon, the people that are buying these tickets, they're saying, give me 4 of these, 3 of these. They're buying more than one. So really, you're only competing against maybe 40 people. Your odds of winning are not bad.
Right. I did see that when the orders for the seats were coming in. It's like, some guy would buy 6 or 7 seats, but then none of them are together. He's got 2 over here. It's like he wants
his mother-in-law.
It's like he wants his friends and family who love MST3K to be there.
Yeah.
But he'd rather they sit over there, which I found hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just tickled me.
Well, he doesn't want to be next to him when they turn into the fanboy or the fangirl and they're Joel, tell me about
I can understand that.
Yeah. So, all right. And then, you guys, I did want to update something else. I don't want this whole show to be about updates. I don't want to
stand next to you when you meet him for the first time.
Yeah. No, he's great. I can't wait. He is just a cool guy. But anyway, you guys, so we've mentioned this on past shows, Geek 101. We are very proud at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention of the Geek 101 program, which is really kind of revolutionary. I don't know if it's revolutionary, but it's definitely unique, you know.
Well, I mean, it's what sets MCFC apart from other conventions, just based on the programming that you do with the kids at the local school systems leading up to the con and after the con and during summer programming when we're allowed to. You've taken this idea of promoting the arts and turned it into this very inspirational program.
Well,
with our the local students.
Well, and here's the thing, and all of us I think can relate to this. We didn't start off reading Moby Dick when we were 6 years old. We read Spider-Man.
The Hobbit.
Yeah, we read comic books. Even Alan, as literate as he is, I bet comics were his gateway. And superheroes and science fiction stories are basically just classical literature that's kind of more fun. And so it's a great vehicle to get young people interested in the arts and in visual storytelling and classical themes. And so that's what the Geek 101 program is all about. We bring kids to a convention and introduce them to all of these exciting topics,
And yes, we talk about, comics and art in general and filmmaking and everything else, but one of the coolest parts of Geek 101 is when we have the robotics guys from the University of Memphis.
Oh yeah, they're
that's
great.
Always just one of the key elements of Geek 101.
Yeah, big shout out to Andrew Olney, the head professor over there. So, well, here's the update, you guys. We're building this up.
It's like, this is an amazing thing, unfortunately.
Well, but here's the thing. So, in addition to that, we travel to schools throughout the state of Tennessee teaching filmmaking and comic book design, and it's basically an extension of Geek 101. So we're still going to do that.
Yeah.
But Geek 101, and by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, this coming on August 12th, there is a subsidy that the Tennessee Arts Commission provides, and they've been a great supporter of Geek 101. They've been a great partner for over 10 years, and you can get 100% of this workshop funded through them. It's almost... Yeah. It's too good to be true, but it is. So if you're listening anywhere in the state of Tennessee, well, I don't know if I want to drive all the way to the other end. That's like, what, 8 hours
you'll
away?
do it. You'll do it.
Okay. Anyway, you can register, but the date is August 12th. So get in touch with me at memphiscfc@gmail.com or go to our website or something. But get in touch with me sooner than later, and you might be able to do that.
So we're going to do by phone at 901.
Yeah. So yeah, shut up. We're gonna do our in-school workshops. It's storytelling and comics and film workshops. But Brandon, we can't guarantee the state of things to do the Geek 101 field trips the day of November 12th. So we're just gonna push it to 2022. I'm sorry, folks.
Which means that we are going to gear up and start planning it now, because we got to make sure that we give you a really good program once we're back in the swing of things.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that. So I did want to update everybody about that, but it's we're if you can't come as a field trip, we still want you to come to the convention anyway. Yeah. So just and I've seen school groups where they'll show up on Saturday morning with their art club or something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, our connection with the schools has always been a major part of MCFC, and we want to keep that alive. So, yeah, get your students together, set up a field trip, get some of the parents in to chaperone. We'll give you a good show.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be fun. So are we up to date now on the Memphis? Is there anything we're forgetting here? We got the Tom Servo giveaway. We've got, Brandon, what did you say about the lip sync contest?
Oh, the lip sync contest, guys. I know that people love to do the lip sync contest, but based on just the space we have in the at the convention where we're at right now, we are quickly outgrowing our home. But this year, just based on everything, the hotel's more than likely going to have a mask mandate in, and we aren't going to be able to allow people to perform maskless, which really kind of puts a damper on a lip sync contest.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So as much as I hate having to do it right now, it is tentative. If I will know more by the middle of September on whether we can have it or not, but it is looking more and more likely that we will have to cancel the lip sync contest again until 2022.
Yeah.
But again,
It's
we
all
will make
fluid.
it up to you guys. It's a very fluid situation.
Yeah, but I think let's see what Covington Con is like. That's going to be a good gauge for us. And like you said, we're going to be there next week on August 14th, and our buddy Josh Mason running that operation over there. Got the name right this time.
Yeah, you did.
Well, hopefully I get the name right here. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here at News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to turn the corner when we come back. We're going to take a quick break and then talk about Suicide Squad number 2.
Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass. We've done our updates. We've taken care of business. We've updated you on the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, on Geek 101, and we're going to be hanging out at the Covington Con next week.
Covington Comic Con.
Covington Comic Con next week at August 14th, and I'm guessing go to their Facebook
Their
page.
inaugural event.
Yeah, and held by our buddy Josh Mason. So, and if you miss any of Geek Tank, never fear. Alan has been pretty good about posting our past shows up at geektankradio.com. And like I said, if you want to hear two middle-aged guys whine about the Cubs on our bonus features, that'll be at the end of this week's podcast when I did my interview with Crawley.
Don't do that to anybody. Put that on as a separate thing, Alan.
It's a good character study if you want to know what makes people tick, or But hey, Brandon, speaking
apparently
of that,
when the Cubs gut their team, it really makes middle-aged dudes tick.
Oh yeah, it's pretty ugly.
And then
over
when
there.
some jerk lies about luxury boxes and scoreboards and people run with it like fake news.
Did you? Well,
dude,
when are we going to give that story? I mean, that's pretty. I think that's its own episode, honestly.
It'll get its own segment. But yeah,
Okay.
we're going to talk about Suicide Squad.
Spoiler light. You and Alan saw it.
Go see it.
Yeah, I'm going to say go see it. It is probably the best DC movie since Tim Burton left the Batman franchise.
Okay.
I'm not
gonna
kidding.
I'm going to go with
but
the
a
interview.
second. Okay, never mind.
I'm going to go with the interview that Gunn gave. And the question was, why? Why did you come over here to do this? And he goes, well, they told me I could have any characters I wanted. I could do anything I wanted. And I tested them and I asked them questions and they said, no, we're serious. And he said, give me this. And they did. Mm-hmm. And they're not, when the ad comes out and says from the, disturbed mind of James Gunn, they weren't kidding.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with that at all, because this while the language is a little more harsh than what you would expect, this is a John Ostrander comic book. Ripped from the page. This is
unadulterated.
This was completely from the mind of John Ostrander, by proxy.
Yes. But they let him do it.
Yeah, they let him do it. And it does. It is, if you liked the first Suicide movie from David Ayer, okay, there's no problem with you liking that. But it wasn't
Had some highlights.
But it wasn't the Suicide Squad as, comic fans are used to.
Right.
The characters were there, but it was a more modern take because, back in the day, there was no Harley Quinn to be in every thing.
Right.
You literally took a bunch of Z-list villains who nobody cared if they lived or died, and you killed off half of them before the book was over.
I guess that's what keeps it fresh. Is you don't know. It's like
and I mean, what keeps this fresh is that before the credits ever rolled, they have killed 8 people that are actual DC characters, and most of them are played by fairly, if not A-list, at least B-list actors.
So, Brandon, we saw the first Suicide Squad movie, and we all enjoyed it. And then it was one of these things where the dust settled, and then especially after we watched the director's cut that was like another 15 minutes long, it sort of doesn't hold up because it just seemed like it was a little slow in a lot of parts.
I'm going to say this.
So.
Do not ever refer to that as the director's cut, because the director didn't have any hand in it.
Okay.
It is the reason why they refer to it as the extended version is that it's like, oh, we had this stuff laying on the floor, we're just going to put it back in. It was cut for a reason.
Yeah.
And we're going to make you realize that it was cut for a reason. It wasn't like with, Batman versus Superman where, they cut out about an hour's worth of footage and the movie didn't make any sense. You put that hour back in, it's like, oh, it makes sense. Whether you like the movie or not didn't really change, but at least things, made sense. The only things they really added back into Suicide Squad in the extended cut was Harley trying to psychoanalyze people as they walked down a street for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it really slowed it down. So
Yeah.
But guess what? You don't have to worry about that here.
No.
From the moment they hit the basically from the moment they hit the ground running, they don't stop.
and some of the characters, and of course we haven't acknowledged our good buddy Dave Dasmalchian, who plays Polka Dot Man.
Right. He didn't.
How did he shine in this one?
It was awesome. You know how everybody fell in love with Zemo in Falcon and Winter Soldier during the dance scene? Mm-hmm. Polka Dot Man has a very reminiscent dance scene in this, and David does. It's wonderful.
And he's just a good dude. People, if you David Dasmalchian is one of Hollywood's good guys so far. David, don't change. Man.
But he plays one of the most subdued, depressed characters in all of DC existence.
He is magnificence in his misery.
He is, and it's
he really
brilliant.
is.
Okay, but his costume is kind of goofy. I mean, I'm sorry, Polka Dot Man in the comics is even worse. But
he's wearing a jumpsuit. It has polka dots on it. It's not that bad of a costume.
By the way, just real quick, you guys, I think you remember a few years ago or whenever they announced that James Gunn was going to get Suicide Squad, I believe we said he's going to bring in Polka Dot Man.
Mm-hmm.
I think we said because that's in his mindset.
That's where his brain goes.
Right. What you didn't predict is exactly how he uses him.
Okay, and we got to be careful with spoilers, right?
Which I'm just going to point out. No matter what happens to your character or where or when, Gunn did not waste his talent.
No, everybody played their role to the utmost. Here's your spoiler. From Pete Davidson as Blackguard being the first person killed off in an amazingly gory way.
That's a pretty big spoiler.
It happens it's 3 minutes into the movie.
Spoiler light, man.
It's spoiler light. It's 3 minutes into the movie. It's not even remotely a surprise.
Now, based on the trailers, it looked like he was in the movie quite a bit.
He's technically the second person who. Well, I can't spoil that.
I hope they got rid of that.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
I hope they get rid of that rat-looking guy. He was, hard to look at. So
Weasel's one of the best characters ever, and Ratcatcher is even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
they did good.
And Idris Elba as Bloodsport. I want a Bloodsport movie.
Okay, because he's the one that's pulling at the heartstrings, right? He's got the daughter.
Okay, first of all, everybody going in before they see this is expecting the relationship that Deadshot and his kid had. No. This is the exact opposite kind of a relationship.
Dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional is not the right word. Unfunctional is the right word.
Let's put it this way: it puts the fun back in dysfunctional.
Okay.
Oh my!
This
is a real relationship between.
And of course, I love the fact that Waller's not, surrounded by. I mean, she's still surrounded by a bunch of yes men.
Yeah.
But they're actually characters you like, and not like not like in the first one where it's like, she can do this. And it's like everybody seemed wooden around her. She's got Steve Agee, who is an amazing comedic actor, as like her head tech.
Yes.
And he's constantly asking her questions, and she gives him those looks.
Yes.
So they filled it in with they didn't have any throwaway characters at all.
The closest thing they had to the throwaway character was the I would say that the president of Corto Maltese.
Yeah.
Because he's literally there he's literally there for eye candy, and
he's wearing a red shirt.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
So they pulled that maneuver.
When he beams in, you kind of look at him and go, You could literally look at your watch and go, you are not going to make it to scene 3.
There's a scene where I'm just going to say B Squad is going to save Rick Flag, and John Cena and Idris Elba, Peacemaker and Bloodsport they're in this competition of who is the better killer, basically.
Oh, kind of like Legolas and Gimli.
Yes, very much like that.
Just how many
if Lord of the Rings was an R-rated buddy comedy, that's how this scene plays out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Brandon. So, I mean, obviously, this is not a movie for your 8-year-old kid.
No.
Yeah, so, and you even said I'd probably be a little squeamish.
Well,
you
don't like.
All right,
I'm not the big.
You're not
guy.
a big fan of gore.
Yeah.
And there's some really gory scenes. It's all CGI gore, so you'll be, it's easier to step away from it.
Yeah.
But
it's still
King
some
Shark
splatter.
eats people.
There's still some splatter.
There's a lot of splatter.
There's a lot of nom.
King Shark. I mean, when we heard about it, obviously we were interested in our buddy Dave Dasmalchian.
You know
King
who
Shark,
the villain is, though, right?
Well, I don't know that I do.
The villain of the overall villain of this movie is Starro the Conqueror.
Yes.
Giant star thing that puts starfish on your face and mentally controls you that way.
Yes.
Is that the one from the first Justice
Yes.
Society
Yes.
comic book?
that took out
That's
everybody
awesome.
but
Yeah.
Batman. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because that's a famous comic book cover.
And yeah, they went full out in the design on Starro too.
That's pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Well,
And the funny thing is, I absolutely adore the entrance as announced at the counter.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to tell people there are scenes that you need to wait for. Do not put popcorn in your mouth.
You'll choke.
because you know it's coming, and it's going to be a punch.
yes.
okay. Well, I don't know. It's getting intriguing. I wouldn't mind weighing in on some of these lesser known characters. We all know Harley Quinn,
Yeah.
but let's look at some of the others. So we're going to continue to unpack that here on Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and continue our discussion about Suicide Squad 2.
Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbert and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we've updated you on the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, on Geek 101, on the great giveaways that are happening. And we want to encourage you today, too, to check out the podcast after it's put up on geektankradio.com, because there's bonus footage, and it's footage of me talking to my friend Crawley about the Cubs. So
Is it really footage
enjoy
if it's
that.
just audio, Alan?
It's not footage. It's a big toe.
Because I really don't want to watch Joe
it's
do it.
basically towage.
Well, so we're talking
There we go.
Suicide Squad. Brandon promised a spoiler light discussion, and within 2 minutes he told us all the people that died and
I
everything.
didn't tell you everybody that died.
And you and Alan have seen it. We have not seen it yet. But so guys,
And whose fault is that?
well, let me, because we have limited time, so everybody knows Harley Quinn. No
Right.
offense,
Yes.
Margot, but we're going to gloss over you because
And-
we want to look at some of these lesser known characters.
Before we do move on to those lesser known characters, I do want to say that it has been a just genuine pleasure watching her grow as Harley. With each different chapter she's played, you can see Harley growing as a character.
Yeah.
And it was really relevant to the storyline of this one, that she has been through all the horrors of her past.
Oh yeah, no, I mean we have confidence in her. She's
So-
pretty much nailed that role.
she nails it. Of course, we've got returning characters. We see
she has the ultimate breakup
Yeah.
line.
That's true. Returning characters. Of course, we've got Amanda Waller, we've got Rick Flag, we've got Captain Boomerang. We've seen them before, but then you see the team that has been built. You see the team that is walking towards you in slow motion in the trailers, and you've got Fluja Borg as as Javelin,
Yes.
and his he carries a javelin, he throws a javelin. It's a spiritual
You
javelin.
can kind of figure
Yeah.
that one out, right?
You've got TDK, played by Nathan Fillion. He is
Right.
the detachable kid. His arms
What a
pop
goofy
off and
power.
attack things.
All right. But he
Are
doesn't
they
have...
super strength, or are
No,
they just
he has
regular?
they're just
powers.
regular arms.
Well, what is it? How does he defend
He is
himself when his arms
annoying.
are out fighting?
He is annoying beyond human belief.
Yeah, it looks like really dumb.
Yeah, it's not a happy power.
Okay.
Of course, we've got Weasel, played by Sean Gunn in a mocap, and if you here's the thing, Sean Gunn is also the mocap for Rocket.
Yeah.
And he's
yeah.
he's the Reaver who inherited Yondu's arrow at the end. Sean Gunn is, of course, James Gunn's little brother, and he will be in everything that James Gunn ever does.
Yeah,
I hope so.
And actually, the little bit that he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, he really did a good job.
I hope he is.
And here's the thing: as much as Weasel may freak you out in the trailers, you can't help but fall in love with Weasel.
Oh, he's hard to look at.
He's
everything
not,
about Weasel is hard.
Yeah, but it's also
awful.
hard to look at King Shark, which
I wanted to get to King Shark and Peacemaker.
I like the fact that they go with the more visceral, he's intelligent but non-intelligent version of King Shark.
He's a shark.
I mean, I love.
We'll just go with.
Well, King Shark is a shark, but we've seen multiple versions.
I know.
We've seen King Shark, who is King Shark is a shark. We've seen King Shark as the leather daddy who dated John Constantine.
Yes.
We've seen King Shark as the computer tech from the Harley Quinn cartoon, but Sylvester Stallone as King Shark is brilliant.
Wait, I didn't know it was Sylvester
Stallone. Yeah, I didn't great.
Know
it is Stallone being a parody of every Stallone parody that there ever was.
Yeah.
It sounds like he.
You've
really
seen the part in the
enjoyed
trailer where he's got his hand up and it's like, and Waller goes, "Maui, what?" And he goes, "Hand." She goes, "Yes, that is your hand."
Your hand. Yeah.
But he looks cool.
Oh, he looks amazing. And there's a point when they're trying to infiltrate the city where this clip it's not spoiled. This clip's been on the internet for 2 months, and he wants to be a part of it, but they're like, we're trying to be inconspicuous. You really can't do this. And he goes, Ratcatcher asks him, how would you do this? And he goes, disguise. And she goes, what kind of disguise do you want? Fake mustache. And so he's holding his fin up as a fake mustache, and Bloodsport's like, that's not going to cut it, buddy.
Okay, come on.
I mean, and of
wouldn't
course,
his brain actually be larger? And shouldn't he technically be smarter? This is starting to sound a little fake.
He is, but he can't communicate because he doesn't have human vocal cords.
Okay.
He's all right.
Does he steal every scene he's in?
Yes,
of course he does.
Absolutely.
Gunn, when he laid out the character, started with the words, "It's a shark."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he anamorphed as little as he possibly could,
just enough
from
so that
those words,
so he could walk.
So they could get him on camera,
right?
And
then,
that's where they stop.
Ratcatcher 2 is she's the heartstrings character, because you get a backstory with her and her father that really makes you feel for villainy, actually, which is really weird. And then
I got it completely.
Yeah, it was perfectly. Idris Elba is Bloodsport. Everybody's like, you mean he's not Deadshot? No, he's not Deadshot. Bloodsport was in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet.
Yes.
Yeah, he knows.
Now,
based off of misinformation and a lot of bad rage and info.
Yeah.
Right.
So what ends up happening here is that it's a character that really didn't last in comics very long. This version, Dubois was killed in prison by a guard at Belle Reve.
Yes.
During a riot. So he didn't. So a lot of people think of Bloodsport 2, which was more of this is a really psycho, zealotous version of Azrael, which was already a zealotous character.
Right.
But Idris Elba pulls it off perfectly. He's so good in this role.
He nails
but
everything he does. So.
I don't think that I've ever seen Idris Elba in a bad role. Has he been in bad movies? Yes, but his role always stands out.
I was thinking at least 2 really bad movies, but he was really good in both of them. Yeah.
He was even epic in The Office. He's just one of these guys. He always elevates.
It's Idris. He is going to do the job.
It's like the reason why Hobbs and Shaw works is because you got Jason Statham, which I don't know anybody who doesn't like Jason Statham. You got The Rock. I know very few people who have anything bad to say about The Rock. And you got Idris Elba as their villain.
Yeah.
It's an amazing movie. It doesn't make any dang sense whatsoever, but it's an amazing movie.
It doesn't have to.
But staying in, I know you want to know about Peacekeeper.
Yeah, I'm very curious about Peacekeeper.
And not making any common sense.
John Cena is he's brilliant in this role.
Oh my God!
You don't want to
like
him.
Like a jerk.
You don't want to like him at all, but you're sitting there going, I know people like this. I hang out with people like this.
He is all right. Like I said, the only thing missing from his character is a big purple cow and a calculator.
I mean,
okay.
He leans into this character so far.
He does
so hard.
And the thing about Peacemaker is we talk about Bad Batch on here, and good soldiers follow orders. He's that guy.
Oh yeah. Well, didn't he say something like if 1,000 men, women, and children have to die to keep peace, it's worth it.
It's worth it. He will. Yes, he will keep the peace by any death necessary.
That my question though, you guys, was
And-
does he think of himself as a villain because he's teamed
No.
up with all these?
No.
So
Oh,
that's
no.
that's
He
the
does-
problem, right?
He is the worst kind of villain in the fact that he is utterly committed to what he thinks.
Yeah.
He is the most comedic version, the biggest parody of Darth Vader you could ever have. He is utterly devoted to what he has been
I do like
given.
I do like it when they make fun of the fact that he wears a toilet seat.
Yes.
I mean,
they
his
just-
helmet
yeah.
is it's
Now,
just
now
terrible.
in the comics, I don't know the character very well, but I've been told in the comics that the helmet is actually talks to him.
Yes.
It's like the ghost of his father or something, who is just
Terrible.
the worst POS
Terrible.
that you could come
Terrible.
across. Yeah.
Terrible.
I don't know, man. Well, it sounds like, and it's on HBO,
HBO Max
or you can
and
go
in
see it
theaters now.
Don't watch it with your young kids. Absolutely.
Nope.
So, well, you can listen to Geek Tank Radio with your young kids. We encourage it. We keep it clean and
That's
PG around here. But it unfortunately, one thing we can't do is extend the time. We're out of it, you guys. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Dorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbert.
And I am Brandon Olmsted, challenging you to be the weasel to our Suicide Squad.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here for our online interview that I'm doing with my buddy Crawley from Crawley's Clubhouse, a fellow Cubs fan, the mayor of the Cubs convention. He's pretty well known. You guys are going to definitely want to follow his adventures. But Crawley, thanks for joining me, man.
I'm glad to be here, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
And because nobody around here in Memphis cares about my plight this week, and at least I feel like we're kindred spirits in this regard. But well, Crawley, are we? I mean, the big topic that I led into here was they got rid of Javier. The Cubs got rid of Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, and Chris Bryant all within 24 hours, and my soul was crushed along with millions of other fans. But how are you feeling about this whole thing?
I mean, clearly it's disappointing. I mean, there's no other way to look at this. Is that we were always promised a retool, not a rebuild. So for people that aren't aware, I mean, Chicago is the third largest market, and for many years the Cubs were laughing stock, and all of a sudden they just turned it around. But there was a rebuild process that started in around 2011, 2012. And we were promised something. We were promised that they were going to do this one time, and then they were going to fix it, and everything was going to be great. And let's be honest, they delivered on the World Series.
Absolutely.
But now,
yeah.
They traded 9 players at the trade deadline. You mentioned the 3. You threw in. There's also Craig Kimbrell, who is who is a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. Andrew Chafin, one of the best setup men. You had all these guys, and you just traded everybody. So when I was told there wasn't going to be a rebuild, what would you describe this as? As of right now, like I said, I'll try to give them the benefit of the doubt, waiting to see what happens in the off season. But this sure as hell looks like a rebuild to me. I don't understand why you wouldn't find maybe one guy to try to even build around or bridge to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Crawley, so here's the thing. Like I say, you're in the heart of Cub territory. You're constantly interacting with fellow Cubs fans, and so you don't realize the desert that I'm in. I'm basically surrounded by either White Sox fans that like to ridicule me, or Cardinal fans, or Braves fans that they laugh when I tell them how heartbroken I am about Javier Baez or anything. But let me give you my point of reference. So I grew up in this. Well, I started becoming a Cub fan in the 70s. And then in 1987, I moved to San Diego, and I really moved. I never moved back to Chicago. So I got out of there right before, right in the middle of the whole controversy with should we put lights up and everything, because for those that don't know, Wrigley Field didn't have lights till 1988. And so basically then I wound up, years later I had kids. I was focused on that. I didn't have cable TV, so I couldn't watch WGN. So I was just basically sort of on the outskirts. And then once my kids were grown, I feel okay about, getting back into it. And so I get a smartphone, and I'm listening to the MLB app, and it just so happens that I picked up my first smartphone in 2016 and got tuned back in. But Crawley, the world changed quite a bit for me between 1987 and 2016, and I still feel like I don't fully understand things. So the Cubs are just, like you said, they're not a laughing stock anymore. They're expected to perform.
Right, and other things that have happened, since the Ricketts have bought the team, they've bought up a lot of property around the surrounding neighborhood. So they own rooftops, they own a huge hotel, right directly across the street from the park. They own buildings with bars and restaurants and this and that. They've also invested in a network. You talked about WGN, the Superstation, which has allowed a lot of people to, around the country to be Cub fans. And, now they have their network. So, I mean, a lot of their businesses depend on the Cubs being good. It's not, they don't just own a team anymore. It's a lot more complex than that. So that's why, this was such a shocking move. I think everybody thought that at least one player wasn't going to be re-signed, possibly two, but all three, that just didn't, like I said, who's going to really watch next year when Rafael Ortega's leading off and Ian Happ is batting third. I mean, right now, they got just names that you've never heard of. And I follow the minors pretty good. A lot of these guys, like I said, but some of these guys, the average fan has never heard of, and they're not that great.
Yeah. Well, so what's the general vibe? Were you there? Where were you on that Friday? Are we calling this like Black Friday, or what are we calling the trade-off day?
There's a lot of questions about it, but I actually was at a convention. I know you and your fellow co-hosts go to a lot of conventions. I was at the national convention, which is the biggest sports memorabilia convention, and it was in Chicago. So I was out getting some autographs, some Sandberg and Dawson autographs. So I had my phone with me, and I'm watching everything. And, the day before, I was at the game. So I was at the game on Thursday. And Rizzo and Bryant were both out of the lineup, and everyone's just going, oh, Jesus, that's just, that's not a good sign right there. You know what I mean? They clearly aren't playing these guys so they don't get injured.
Right.
And so everyone that was there was just hoping for one more at bat. Let us send these guys out the right way, you know what I mean? And just say goodbye to them in that regard. And it never, they never came out. They never got to pinch hit. They never anything. They just sat on the bench, and then right after, I'm on my way home from the game, and that's when the news about Rizzo broke. So that was on Thursday. So, I mean, we were all just, Rizzo was the guy that, he caught, 2012, 2013. He was the longest tenured Cub. And, he was the one that kind of was the bridge from those 100-loss rebuild teams to catching the final out of the World Series. And so that was really hard because, if you don't know who Anthony Rizzo is, just great first baseman, great ball player, but, he's a cancer survivor, and he did a ton of stuff in the surrounding Chicagoland area, especially with Lurie's Children's Hospital, helping kids with cancer, visiting kids with cancer, donating money and experiences to kids with cancer. So it was a real gut punch. And then all of a sudden, Tapera also happened on Thursday, but then Friday is when the Kimbrel, you had Kimbrel, Baez, Bryant, even Jake Marisnick, all these guys just going. And then to top it off, the Cardinals got John Lester. So that was just the extra kick in the gut on that one.
Yeah, that was a knife twist. But so, Crawley, I want to hit on something because people have said this. I don't even think it's debatable. Wrigley Field is probably the finest sports, you could say, arena complex. It's the biggest sports location, at least in America. It has the most mystique, but it also has poetry and legend and superstition, and it's an institution that's built on human emotion. And basically, when they so unceremoniously got rid of Anthony Rizzo, and Javi and Chris Bryant, but especially Rizzo in the way they did, to me that was not the ending. I mean, it's going to come back to haunt us. To me, that's kind of like the curse of the goat again. It's like that does not fit with the poetry of Wrigley Field in my mind.
I mean, a lot of people kind of talked about the curses and all that stuff, but there was just a lot of bad decision making that went into that 100-year drought. So, whether you want to believe in that stuff or not, I don't know. It's just I'm more concerned from the business standpoint that, if whoever the next big free agent is, are you going to want to sign in Chicago, seeing that that's how you treated somebody that gave so much to the organization. Is that going to make you want to sign there? So, like I said, the Black Cat and the Billy Goat, that makes for a lot of fun for a lot of people and great storytelling and documentaries and all that stuff about the Cubs' futility. But in reality, if you take a look, there was just so many mistakes they made from a business standpoint, whether you're talking about the College of Coaches or trading Lou Brock or just a whole series of messes that they made for many, many years. So from a business standpoint and from a baseball standpoint, that's my concern is these guys talk, players talk, And so when you sit there and you treat players like that should mean more to the organization. I mean, that may tip some, a good prospective free agent one way or another. Free agents are going to get their money no matter what. There's other aspects that come along with that, like how an organization treats people, what the facilities are like. And the Cubs have, did so much to build up so much goodwill since 2010. It just seems ridiculous that they would just kind of flush it as quickly as they've done it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. That's why I just thought surely one of these three are going to stay, or there's just something we're not being told. I don't know. And even if they were to re-sign a couple, which I don't know, man, that I don't even know if that's realistic to think that they might bring any of them back. But to me, I just don't think that's smart business. Like I said, I think part of the business of baseball is built on emotion. So I guess we will see. I'm just wondering though, Crawley, like you said, when I went back to Wrigley Field after having been away for like 25 years, I didn't recognize the place at all. I recognized the inside, but there's this big scoreboard. The Steve Bartman seat was gone. That's I wanted to take a picture there, but the Gallagher way, there was a lot of modern stuff that it's nice and it's a good thing for families, but partly I thought it's a little, I don't know what it's like. I feel like they better slow down. I don't want to lose all of Wrigley. I want to keep it, maintain the integrity of it. But I just wonder what going forward it's going to look like when you built this big empire on the fact that the Cubs are champions with these larger than life figures.
Yeah, that's a question that nobody can really answer. And so, because they've, Gallagher Way, what you're talking about, and I will be the first to say the Rickies did a wonderful job renovating the ballpark because, I mean, let's be honest, there was a lot of mystique, but the place was falling apart.
Yeah.
And not having a lot of modern amenities. And what they did is they actually restored it to its glory of the 30s and 40s. So like in the 1970s, like the outside was replaced with this like ugly stamped concrete. Now they got like terracotta and they really redid it much to its glory of what it was back when, like I said, in the 30s and 40s when it was at its glory right there of what you think Wrigley should look like. It looks just a lot better, but I don't know. Part of the fun of being a Cubs fan was saying I was there when it happened. I was, I was, and so that's kind of gone. That chip, you know what I mean? That you could say like, there's, because people are like, I already saw World Series. You know what I mean? Like I did that, So I just don't know exactly how fans are going to react to this. I can tell you that season ticket holders right now were taking a bath to begin with this year. They were losing a lot of money on the secondary market. And now with everybody gone, I mean, how many people are going to want to pay the average Wrigley ticket and the when you talk about the combined experience, parking a dog and a beer and ticket, Wrigley has the highest prices. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, when you talk about going to see Rizzo or Baez or Bryant, every time you went to see one of those guys that made up that core, maybe they would win, maybe they would lose, but you always had the feeling you were going to see something special, maybe something you never saw before. And that's gone now. How are you going to sell a ticket? I think this weekend coming up, they're coming home for the first time this weekend, Friday through Sunday against the White Sox. How are you going to try to sell a $120 ticket just for the ticket, not the parking, not the beer, not the hot dog? How are you going to sell a $120 ticket when you have Frank Schwindel playing first base? That's not something that everybody's going to be jumping out of their seat to do. The Cubs are going to lose a lot of games from here until September when the season ends, the end of September. How many people want to pay top dollar to see a AAA team lose?
Well, that's what I mean, and I feel like it's a snowball effect too, Crawley, because it's not just the tickets, it's the merchandise. How many jerseys are they going to sell? How many? I know they do licensing, but still, that's a bragging rights and everything. But how many souvenirs are they going to sell in the souvenir stands and everything too? So it's just I don't know, man. Like I'm trying to come to acceptance. I am glad that they kept Wilson Contreras. Are you basically seeing him as the captain of the team now? Is there anything official? Because in my mind, that's the role he's taken on.
There's never been an official captain since Sammy Sosa. They decided to do away with that. So there's no official captain. I mean, obviously, he's one of the leaders in the clubhouse. You could argue that Jason Hayward, Jake Arrieta can also be considered leaders of the clubhouse. But, I really can't say what that leadership role looks like right now. And so there's a lot of questions. The Cubs, the Ricketts and the Cubs have spent a lot of money over the last 10, 12 years. But then all of a sudden around like 2019, the spending stopped. And the payroll went up, but that was because of arbitration. These younger players, were arbitration eligible, meaning they had a right to get more money off of their contracts. But they haven't signed a position player to a multi-year deal since Daniel Descalso in 2019. So you're looking at these situations, and they said they're going to spend in the off season. Their books are going to be pretty much cleared of any money. The only money really left is going to be the Jason Hayward contract. Even Wilson doesn't make all that much because he's in his first contract. But Wilson's a free agent at the end of next season, so you got to see what you have to do there. But as far as free agency, the big question looming over all of baseball is the collective bargaining agreement, which ends this December coming up. And so there's a lot of bad blood between ownership and the players union. And so I don't know what's going to happen and when they're going to come to a deal and how long that's going to take. And if it spills into spring training or the regular season. And so nobody's going to spend money until they know in the off season, until they know what the rules are regarding this new collective bargaining agreement. So it's a big mess right now, and there just doesn't seem to be a good out. You're looking for like an out, and it's hard to find one right now where this turns into a positive.
Well, hey, Crawley, so I want to skip ahead a few months from now and look at something that you're sort of an expert in, and it's something our listeners will relate to the most, and that's the Cubs convention, which takes place every January. Where's it at this year, Crawley? Is it still at the?
Every year it's at the Sheraton. It was at the Hilton for many, many, many years on Michigan Avenue, and then when the Ricketts had a partnership with the Sheraton, it moved to the Sheraton. I want to say like 2013.
Okay, yeah. So folks, if you've been to any, hopefully you've been to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, which by the way will be November 12th through 14th. Shameless plug. Go to Memphis CFC to learn more about that. But Crawley, so we've got the Cubs convention, which looks a heck of a lot like the conventions I go to. For superheroes and science fiction and everything. However, one difference at the conventions I go to, the celebrity guests are pretty much treated like gold. Well, I was at the Cubs convention in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, when Tom Ricketts got on stage, and he was mostly well received. However, when he started talking about the Marquee Network, they actually booed him. So you don't know what you might get if you're a guest at the Cubs convention. What is it going to look like this year, man? So
I don't. If I'm a gambling man, I don't see there being a convention this year.
Really? Are they going to use the COVID as an umbrella? You think, or is that? I mean, I don't know what the CDC is saying up there as far as gatherings, but I mean they're filling up the ballparks, so.
They're filling up the ballparks. We just had Lollapalooza, which was a huge event, but that also was highly criticized. You had hundreds of thousands of people at Lollapalooza. Which is a huge concert event that happens at Grant Park. But I just see here's the thing is that what people understand is the Cub convention just requires a lot of advanced planning. Okay, you're booking, about 100 guests. You're going to have hotel, airfare. You have to get commitment from these players to fly in from all over the place. And so it's one of those things that it's a lot of work. And if there's a chance that it's going to be canceled, it's really... it's probably not going to happen. And so I've talked to people, and from what I'm hearing, nothing's done. And it's just not something you get done, like say in a couple months. Like this is something like they start planning and start kind of outlining it like a month after the previous convention. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I plan a convention, Crawley. You're preaching to the choir, man. Yep.
I just don't see how they would put the time, the energy, and the resources in something that has a strong possibility of not happening. You know about the Delta variant. I heard you talk about it on your last show, and the concerns about that. There's the Lambda variant that we've heard about, and then the tradition, the weird thing about the spike, the numbers going up all over the place, is that it's happening during the warm summer months when this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
So when you talk about Illinois, like we once we get to like November, December, January, like when Cub Convention in January, I mean, you're in the heart of flu season normally. And so that's when numbers last year took a huge spike up. And so I find it hard to, from what I'm hearing, I would say there's probably 75% chance it's not going to happen, about a 25% chance that they pull it off.
Yeah.
And if they do pull it off, it's not going to look anything like what we had seen previously.
Well, and in fairness, folks, if you follow Crawley's adventures, you can find sound bites of him. You can follow. We'll give we'll pimp your stuff in a second, Crawley. But I will give you this: you will ask the tough questions. You're not just some cheerleader for the team that just drinks the Kool-Aid. I've heard questions where you've called out the owners and you've called out management about decisions that you thought were mistakes, and you've done it respectfully but pretty courageously, man. I got to give you a hats off on that.
Well, it's almost like think about it like a shareholder meeting. You know what I mean? It's like you have an opportunity to ask the important questions, and so that's why not take that? You know what I mean? I don't really care what Anthony Rizzo would have been if he wasn't a baseball player. There's certain things that I would like to learn about just in general. So that's your time to really kind of ask. And I'm a season ticket holder, so I feel like a shareholder because it's my money that I'm using. You know what I mean? We're the ones the season ticket holders are the ones that have kind of stuck through thick and thin. If you're just no offense to anybody, but if you're just just maybe you get 2 or 3 games a year. You know what I mean? I'm the one that's, if the Cubs suck next year, you're probably not going to buy a ticket, or maybe you go to 1 game. I'm the one that's buying 81 damn games and kind of helping keep this thing afloat. So if something's not going right, or if there's a question that I have, then they know I'm going to ask it. And so, like I said, like you said, I try to be as respectful as I can. It's not going to yell, and it's not meatballish stuff. It's trying to ask some legitimate questions, and it's very hard because you have to kind of work on this question and phrase it, because these guys are like politicians. They find a way to answer a question without really answering the question. So you got to make sure that your question is kind of really locked in there so that there's no out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Crawley, with that in mind, I also want to, how do people follow? Because you're up to a lot of stuff. I've seen footage of you on NBC Sports and some other things, but what's the best way for people to stay in tune with all the, because I like your content that you put out, man. Like you said, you're not a hothead. You're not just throwing slings and arrows. You're kind of giving us some pretty good Cubs content. So how do people get in on that?
Yeah, if you go to Twitter, it's at Crawley's Cubs, CRAWLYS Cubs. On Facebook, Crawley's Clubhouse. Same with Instagram and same with YouTube and pretty much everything else. We have a podcast called Sunranto, the Sunranto show that we do, and so you can find that on Apple Podcasts. Anything like if you just Google Crawley, you'll start bumping into me here and there and everywhere. So Crawley and Cubs, you'll find me. So it's fun, but this has not been fun recently. So, like I said, hopefully there are certain things that we're going to be looking at in the future. You got Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson who are getting stretched out in Iowa, a couple of young pitchers, and the farm system looks a lot better. It just feels like it just didn't have to go this complete of a direction as it's taken.
Yeah, it feels a lot like that movie Moneyball. That's what I'm – because before, like I told you, I was tuned out for a while because I was busy raising a family. And when I came back, everything had changed. And when I watched that movie Moneyball, I really feel like there's just so many factors that go into today's game that I'm still playing catch up with, man. But
when you talk with Moneyball, I mean it's I get what you're saying. The issue with Moneyball though is that they're talking about the Oakland A's, who are a small market team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they don't have the resources. They don't have the TV dollars. They don't have the revenue streams that the Cubs do. So, yeah, I understand if you're Tampa Bay or if you're the Oakland A's, then you do have to kind of try to find any which advantage that you can, because it's hard to compete with the financial resources of the Cubs or the Yankees or the Red Sox. So that makes sense. At the same time, the Cubs have that, so they shouldn't have to rely on doing the same thing that the A's or the Kansas City Royals or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, anyway, I guess it's just the analytics, all of it. But Crawley, we don't want to be negative. So before we get out of here, what gives you hope for the future of the Cubs, man?
I believe that the guy who's in charge of the Cubs draft, Dan Kantrovitz, has done an excellent job. So that changed. Last year was his first draft. This is the second draft. So a lot of draft picks, and then the Cubs did trade away talent, and so you're going to get something in return. So they have a lot of high ceiling type guys, but those are the ones that kind of get you scared, because those are the gambles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're going to be great. Maybe they're going to be nothing. There's some players in the system that the Cubs have right now. Brennan Davis was just named the minor league player of the month for the Cubs. You have guys like Cole Franklin, pitchers. You have a lot of interesting young guys. So when the Cubs were rebuilding and sucking from 2011 to 2014, everybody, major club, we were all waiting for the Bryants and the Solairs and the Baez's to come up and make their debuts. But since the Cubs have been, in the postseason, 5 out of the last 6 seasons, nobody's really kind of paid attention to the minors as much, because you're watching the big team. But there are some interesting names, and I know you're down there. The Tennessee Smokies, they're going to have some really good players there that people can check out. They're moving a lot of people right now because of this influx of players. But if any of your listeners have a shot to get over to Tennessee, to where the Smokies play, that'd be something interesting to kind of check out, because there's going to be some young talent coming through there.
Oh yeah. It's this is sort of a side thing, but I got to meet Ben Zobrist at when he came through Memphis. When he was on his rehab assignment back in 2019, and I made it by one day, because he was the next day he got called back in, and what a great guy, and it's you never know who you might meet either. They may be wasn't Jake Arrieta on a rehab? No, I guess. Well, not recently, but you know what I mean. You'll meet some major leaguers and some future players. So. Right.
Yeah. These guys go in there for their rehab. Yeah, Jake was there, and definitely, I remember Zobrist being down there, and they're just great guys. And like I said, for me, that's why I like to go to spring training, is not to see the guys I already know. I always knew what Rizzo and Bryant and Baez were going to do. I was looking for the next kind of talent that you could maybe spot somewhere. So that's the fun thing about going to a minor league game, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than being at Wrigley.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, hey, speaking of that, Crawley, I think I'm going to be there in September. So are you pretty much going to be at most of the games the rest of the season? I think we're going.
I usually try to hit about one game a homestand at least minimum. So
okay,
I'll kind of keep doing that. I'm going to the game this Sunday against the White Sox. I think it's nationally televised, so that's going to be great.
Oh, fun! Yeah, you can watch Kimbrel shut the guys down at the end. But and a big shout out to our buddy Stu McVicker, owner of Club 400. I think we're meeting up with him. He's got his event coming up. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything, Crawley, so I'm not gonna. But
not yet.
Okay, but it's coming up in the near future, and I'm hoping to finally get my first tour of Club 400. So I'm guessing you'll be there, right? That's your stomping
grounds. Oh, yeah,
grounds.
absolutely. Yeah, Stu's a good friend, and I try to go. I make all the events. So that's going to be on Friday, September 10th, and that's kind of where we're hoping for our comeback. It's been a weird year where it's been basically shut down, and that's tough because we do a lot of stuff raising money. Stu does so much to raise money for charity for people that need it, and it just sucks that he gives the gift of sharing what he built with everybody, and so Club 400. Imagine owning Disney World and you're the only one in the park.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'll be fun for a couple of days, but what makes Club 400 are the people.
Oh yeah, Stu's a saint, man. That guy. We've had him on the show before too, but yeah, you're right. He's got the coolest Cubs man cave in the world, and he doesn't keep it to himself. He throws parties that have raised, close to $500,000 now, and his goal is to get to $1 million and beyond. And he's, I can't wait. It's a pretty awesome event too. You get to meet Cubs players, and folks, go get on YouTube, look up Stu McVicker, STUMCVICAR, And also go to Netflix. You'll see a what was it? It's called Amazing Interiors. I think he's on like the first episode, but he's featured on that. Just a good dude, good family man, a lot of fun. So I can't wait to get up there and party with Stu.
Yeah, and we'll have a drink or two ourselves, all right?
Absolutely. Well, Crawley, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, nobody down here cared about my plight, so it's good to have a kindred spirit, man. But
hopefully we'll be back on top sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. So one more time before you get out of here, how do people follow Crawley's adventures, man?
At Crawley's Cubs on Twitter, Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also look up the Sun Ranto Show on iTunes.
Absolutely. And by the way, Pat Hughes, if you're listening, we love you. You are a icon, the coolest guy, really the coolest celebrity I've ever met. And Crawley, you sell his T-shirts. We better plug that before we get out of here. Tell us that.
Yeah, you go to my website. Has all of Pat's famous sayings, www.crawleysclubhouse.com.
Absolutely. So, all right, Crawley, take care, my friend. I hope to see you next month, man.
Absolutely, Joe. You take care.